Do you hate when this happens to you?
This meeting will now come to order.
Your Honor, please!
Nah, fam, I don't really know.
But Your Honor, I was in Florida. I've never even been to Detroit. Here are all my travel records over the past 3 years.
Oh, you filthy scum! You guilty little prick. Why do you think you're trying to give me evidence, trying to prove your alibi?
Well, I can't afford a lawyer, and you should provide me a lawyer. What are you doing?
You're literally guilty, so you don't need a lawyer.
Well, I have rights according to the Fourth Amendment.
You filthy scum! Rights? You don't have those. You're guilty, so this trial, it's over. I literally give you all $100 to let this be over and say he's guilty.
Shouldn't you literally be, like, right and fair or something?
Well, what else were you expecting? This literally is a corrupt system. Court adjourned.
If you hate those scenarios as much as I do, introducing fair trials. Fair trials allows all people to get the justice they deserve. Fair trials do not discriminate based off of any factors. Fair trials are the morally correct choice. Fair trials will even kick out unfair judges, like her.
As a corrupt judge, why must I get what I deserve?
When a government begins to set up unfair trials, it is the people's job to stand up to them. I bet you're wondering, well, how in the dang heck am I supposed to get these fair trials? Well, guess what? You should automatically be provided them by your state, country, town, county, whatever else you live in. Well, I bet you're wondering, well, what if the heck ding dang darn I ain't? Well, then you gotta do something about it. You gotta stand up for it. All people should be provided access to a fair trial, regardless of any factors. So when you aren't provided one, there's only one thing to do, and that's call them out on it. If your rights are being ignored, stand up to it. In order to make change happen, you have to be willing to state what you think should be done. The great Henry David Thoreau called to the American people and asked that they would stand up at once to make a better government. He told the people of America that every man should, and I quote, make known what kind of government would command his respect, and that would be one step towards obtaining it. He said that in paragraph 3 of Civil Disobedience. If people want to make a better government with fair trials for all, then you just have to stand up for it. Make it known that you want that, and that's one more step towards obtaining it. So he implores those around him to stand up for what they believe in and make it happen. Fair trials are important because without them, all people would have to face the judgment of an unjust government without any hope for redemption. Do you think that's wrong? Because it is. Then you have to stand up for it. Make it happen.
Wow, what a great product, am I right? And if you aren't convinced to try out fair trials yet, then let's check out Arthur Miller's word.
So, 1940s, my boy Arthur Miller writes this bomber of a play. You know what play he wrote? The Crucible. Pretty sick book, play, whatever. It compares two of the worst corrupt trials of all time, McCarthy trials and the Salem witch trials, to each other. And he uses the Salem witch trials as a setting to show how messed up the McCarthy trials are. They quickly fall apart once anybody stands up to them. Around the end of Act 3, this dude named Proctor stands up. Now, Proctor knows he's not guilty, but he knows because he's watched the rest of the trials that he can't get out of this. Screwed. He's already guilty. That's it. Realizing he's screwed, he decides to stand up to the unfair trial. Towards the end of his trial, he starts ranting and he yells at the people running the trials.
A fire! A fire is burning! I hear the boots of Lucifer. I see his filthy face, and it is my face, and yours stand forth. For them that quail to bring men out of ignorance, as I have quailed, and as you quail now when you know in your black hearts that this be fraud. God damns our kind especially, and we will burn together.
Miller, page 122. For those at home that couldn't follow that the first time around, I couldn't either. Let me put it in a little bit of simpler terms. The trials were set up on a religious basis. Knowing this, Proctor claims that the trials were furthering the devil's hold on the world. That's a real slap in the face for those that claim to be furthering God's kingdom. He's saying that all the people involved in the trial are just scared. He says that they prosecute men that aren't smart enough to see the corruptness of the trial, and they do so just so they can stay in power. He once was scared himself, and now he calls out all the other people involved in the trial for being just as scared. He calls them out on all of this. Can you state it one more time? He claims that the leaders of the trial are basically guilty of what they are accusing other people for. Wow, what a great infomercial, am I right? Let me wrap it up. Fair trials are important. They keep the government in line. Without fair trials, the government would have almost free reign to prosecute any person to any extent. Judgment would be based off of the prejudice of a person rather than any moral good or any fact. Even though moral and judicial and government systems are not perfect, it is vital that people would be able to stand up against any injustice. Even though it is against human nature to change the systems you are accustomed to, it is necessary to do so occasionally. When it becomes too much to bear, or when it impedes upon people's freedoms or moral codes, that's when you know you have to stand up. First, people should state what they believe in and what would be best for a governmental system to be run by. However, secondly, when the government refuses to change anything and continues to violate moral codes impeding upon others' rights, it is vital to rise up civilly against a government that does so. When freedoms are compromised and other options have been tested, the only choice is for people to disobey civilly. Finally, and most importantly, file fair trials today, because maybe it can change your life and somebody else's.